Good morning. I caught myself this time. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this installation of Lox, Bagels, and Life, where you bring the lox and bagels. I have a little coffee and offer you a message, a tool of life. Before I continue, I want to just remind everyone that you can always find the updated links to today's session on this link, jewishcenter.info/Rabbi Shem Tov, where the current links of the current sessions, Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday, I got to remember that, are live, as well as the past recordings. And for all our events, please go to jewishcenter.info/virtual. So much going on. So, my dear friends, it's Sunday morning. It's a little chilly outside, but it was a beautiful Shabbat with the community, with my family. I must say it's a little shrinking with the kids away in school and the married children, but we had a lovely time together. I'd like to share with you an insight that dawned upon me yesterday as I was studying the Hayom Yom of yesterday, which is actually a little relevant to today's portion. And I put this notes here, so let me just open it. But before that, I want to ask you a question. We always say about pillars of the community. You should be a pillar in the community, or this person is a pillar in the community. A pillar is a very strong foundation, very strong support of whatever it is. The pillars outdoors that hold up the room, that hold up the floor. Pillars are very strong. And we always look for those pillars. But sometimes a pillar is not necessarily a great quality. And today I'd like to suggest that instead of trying to become a pillar, which is always a good thing, I can't get this to stay on, my dear friends, it's always a good thing, maybe we should try to become something else, and that is a ladder. Now, what's the difference between a pillar and a ladder? What's the connection? A ladder is something you climb up, and a pillar is something that holds other things up. What's the distinction and what's the connection? Well, let me share with you an insight that I saw yesterday. And that is, when we start to read this week's portion, we talk about Vayetze, how Jacob leaves the home of his parents and starts a new phase in his life. And he has a dream. And there's a very famous dream in Jacob's life. On this moment, he's alone in the field. We'll talk more about that on the Shabbat sermon. But this is the point I want to share. And it says he has a ladder going up to heaven, and there's angels going up and coming down. And we won't get into that whole imagery, but this concept of a ladder from the earth up to heaven is used in Kabbalah and Hasidic thought to teach us the idea of prayer, that the connection to God, that when we talk about the ladder on the earth and reaching heaven, it's talking about our relationship with God. We are grounded here in the earth, and the heaven metaphorically is a place of God, although God is really everywhere. But the heaven is a metaphor as something that is detached from us, something we can't reach. So therefore, that becomes the metaphor. And this ladder is a connection between heaven and earth. And it's very interesting, as a previous Rebbe points out in the source of yesterday's Hayom Yom, that we choose a ladder as opposed to a pillar. Because although a pillar also connects the top to the bottom of a pillar is grounded, and the top of the pillar is holding up the top force. So the same thing is, we could have used that metaphor for one's connection to God. There's like a pillar. You're on the bottom, God's on top, and then there's a pillar. So why is the metaphor chosen as a ladder? And here's something very beautiful. A pillar is solid. You can't really climb a pillar, especially a long pillar. If the pillar is on the bottom, you can't reach the top through the pillar because it's just one solid piece of wood or concrete, and you can't really climb that. A ladder, on the other hand, is a tool that enables you, although you are on the ground, to reach the top of the ladder. Why? Because there are different rungs on the ladder. The ladder isn't a solid piece of material, but there's rung and another rung, and you take one step and another step and another step. And slowly, although you are on the bottom, you are capable of reaching the top. You are capable of reaching the top. And how are you capable of reaching the top? If you take it step by step. And so it is in our relationship with God. And so it is in our relationship with everything spiritual that seems to be abstract. See, there's two attitudes we can take. One attitude is, oh, God is, I believe in God, don't get me wrong, but God is very detached, very separate. He's so big, or she is so big, God is so big that I can't even reach it. So why even bother? It's like a pillar. I am connected to God, but in a sense, separate from God. Although we're connected, because there's no way I can reach that. And here the Torah tells us that the connection between heaven and earth is the metaphor of a ladder. And a ladder is, number one, says that you could reach the top. And number two is, how do you reach the top? See, God isn't so big that he's too distant from us. God is so big that his greatness can be reached, but you have to take it one step at a time. And every time you put your step, your foot on another rung of the ladder, you are by definition higher. You're already higher. You're already closer. You've already gotten yourself off the ground and closer to heavens. But heavens is everywhere. And therefore, every step on the ladder is that ladder of a connection. This is very encouraging. This is very inspiring, because God is not that big that I can't reach him. God is so big that he allows me to reach him. But you have to work hard. And sometimes when you climb the ladder, you fall down. So you climb up again. The ladder always remains the tool and is always there. And there's something I want to share with you that I read that is very connected to this. Because many times we try so hard, and many times we try even harder, and we feel like we're not getting anywhere. So I want to share this story. It's a story that is actually very interesting. A little boy named Mark was a terrible kid in school, misbehaved, and the teacher could not handle him. In fact, this very patient teacher was always so impatient with him because he was just off the charts. And she would scream at him, she would scold him, and in fact, she would reprimand him so often that he really didn't even want to go to school anymore. So at a parent-teachers conference with his mom brings this up to the teacher, and the teacher says, you know, you're right. I'm sorry to tell you, but your Mark is a brat. He's a terrible kid. He's never going to turn out into anything. And really, I don't really want him in this class. The mother's so shocked. This is the way a teacher speaks. She pulls the kid right out of the school. In fact, she decides, although she was then living in Detroit, that she's going to move out to Cleveland, start somewhere else, a fresh start, and enrolls this kid to school. Fast forward 25 years. This teacher from Detroit has a massive heart attack. And she recovers, and she has to go for very special cardiac treatment that could only be found at the Cleveland Clinic. She goes to Cleveland. She goes through this procedure, which is a long procedure. She wakes up, and everything seems so fine. And while she's in the recovery room, all of a sudden, she turns blue, and nobody knows what's going on. The doctors are all running around frantically trying to save her life. And they finally save her life as they're able to resuscitate her. And as she opens her eyes, she sees none other than Mark, that little boy she reprimanded in school. But Mark wasn't the surgeon who saved her life. Mark actually was the janitor at the Cleveland Clinic who took out the plug of her life support machine to plug in his vacuum cleaner so he can able to clean the room. And this is how this story ends, the way I was told. If you thought that Mark had become the heart surgeon, you've been reading too many inspirational stories. Why I like this story is because, especially I know I try to share all these kinds of stories that have these twists and turns and always ends up with a beautiful ending. But that's not reality. Things don't always end up the way we like them to end up. Sometimes things take twists and turns and they don't end up successful, so to speak. What do you do then? Do you remain down and let the failure keep you down? Or you say, you know what? Let me try to climb that ladder once again. And the more you try and the more you don't allow failure to bring you down, the greater the chance that you're on the road to success. The more you don't allow your failures to get you down, the more you know you are on the road to success. The relationship between you and your Creator, the relationship between you and your true spiritual, meaningful value in this world is a ladder which you can climb. It's never too far for you to reach if you take it one step at a time. And in fact, in our series now, we're going to begin a series with a step-by-step program. A step-by-step program by choosing different mitzvot, one mitzvah at a time. Now, one mitzvah at a time doesn't mean Rabbi, I do that one already. Well, maybe you do it, but do you feel it? Do you understand it? And the more we can understand the mitzvah, the deeper the connection with what it is that we do, or the inspiration to start doing something else, will allow us to rise and climb that ladder and not be a pillar that is connected but disconnected at the same time, but be a ladder that allows you to connect in a very deep way, one step at a time. So my dear friends, I want to wish you a great day. It's a little gloomy out there, physically, emotionally perhaps, with all the stuff that's going around in the world. But remember, keep your eye focused on personal growth, and personal growth that's done one step at a time will bring you deeper satisfaction, that will generate positive energy, that will create more positive energy around you and the people you're with. Have a great day, a successful week, and I'll see you Wednesday morning, 8:30. Shalom.